All right, so guys, there we have about 19 chapters to get through this evening, so hopefully it won't be too long of a read, but we're going to go ahead and get through it. And as I always have in my disclaimer before we get started, I just want to first off say that if I pronounce any of the names wrong, it is honestly by my honest mistake. So without further ado, because you didn't come here to just hear me rant, we'll go ahead and get started in Exodus 21. All right, now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th month he shall go out free and pay nothing. If he comes in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife of her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out before himself or by himself. But if the servant plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or to the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man sells his daughter to a female slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt deceitfully with her. And if he has betrothed her to his son, he shall deal with her according to the custom of daughters. If he takes another wife, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marriage rights. And if he does not do these three for her, then she shall go out free without paying money. He who strikes a man so that he dies shall surely be put to death. However, if he did not lie in wait, but God delivered him into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place where he may flee. But if a man acts with premeditation against his neighbor to kill him by treachery, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. And he who strikes his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. He who kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall surely be put to death. And he who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. If men contend with each other, and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, and he does not die, but is confined to his bed, if he rises again and walks about outside with his staff, then he who struck him shall be acquitted. He shall only pay for the loss of his time, and shall provide for him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man beats his male or female servants with a rod, so that he dies under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he remains alive a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his property. If men fight and hurt a woman with child so that she gives birth prematurely, yet no harm follows, he shall surely be punished according as the woman's husband imposes on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. Stripe for stripe. Oh my goodness. Apparently I can't talk this evening. I apologize. If a man strikes the eye of his male or female servant and destroys it, he shall let him go free for the sake of his eye. And if he knocks on the tooth of his male or if he knocks out the tooth of his male or female servant, he shall let him go free for the sake of his tooth. If an ox gores a man or a woman to death, then the ox shall surely be stoned, and its flesh shall not be beaten, but the owner of the ox shall be acquitted. And if the ox tended to thrust with its horn in times past, and it has been made known to his owner, and he has not kept it confined, so that it has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner shall be put to death. If there is imposed on him a sum of money, then he shall pay to redeem his life, whatever is imposed on him. Whether he has gored a son or gored a daughter, according to this judgment it shall be done to him. If the ox gores a male or female servant, he shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man opens a pit, or if a man digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls in it, the owner of the pit shall make it good. He shall give money to their owner, but the dead animal shall be his. If one man's ox hurts another so that it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the money from it. And the dead ox they shall also divide. Or if it was known that the ox tended to thrust in times past, and its owner has not kept it confined, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead animal shall be his own. So guys, that was Exodus chapter 21. And to kind of give context, I do apologize for not giving that before we started. This is now after the children of Israel have exited this, I want to say city, but it's not really the city, but it's basically they exited Egypt. And this is where all the Egyptians had perished in the Red Sea. And so basically what's happening now is God is giving out laws to the children of Israel. And so we're going to get closer to also having the 10 Commandments written in stone in this chapter. And we're going to see some things too that Moses does that are not exactly what God asked him to do. So these are going to be some of the things that to like look forward to with our reading today. So we will go ahead and start Exodus chapter 22. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. Oh, there we go. If the thief is found breaking in and he is struck so he dies, there shall be no guilt for his bloodshed. If the sun has risen on him, there shall be guilt for his bloodshed. He should make full restitution if he has nothing. Then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is certainly found alive in his hand, whether it is an ox or donkey or sheep, he shall restore double. If a man causes a field or vineyard to be grazed and lets loose his animal, and it feeds in another man's field, he shall make restitution from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. Excuse me. If fire breaks out and catches its thorns, so that stacked grain, standing grain, or the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man delivers to his neighbor money or articles to keep, and it is stolen out of the man's house, if the thief is found, he shall pay double. All right. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house shall be brought to the judges to see whether he has put his hand into his neighbor's goods. If for any kind of trespass, whether it concerns an ox, a donkey, a sheep, or clothing, or for any kind of lost thing which another claims to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whomever the judges condemn shall pay double to his neighbor. If a man delivers to his neighbor a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or an animal to keep, and it dies, is hurt or driven away, no one seeing it, then an oath of the Lord shall be between them both, and he has not put his hand into his neighbor's goods. Then an oath of the Lord shall be between them both, that he has not put his hand into his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept that, and he shall not make it good. But if, in fact, it is stolen from him, he shall make restitution to the owner of it. If it is torn to pieces by a beast, then he shall bring it as evidence, and he shall not make good what was torn. And if a man borrows anything from his neighbor, and it becomes injured or dies, the owner of it not being with it, he shall surely make it good. If his owner was with it, he shall not make it good. If it was hired, it came from its hire. If a man entices a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall surely pay the bride price for her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the bride price of virgins. You shall not permit a sorceress to live. Whoever lives with an animal shall surely be put to death. He who sacrifices to any god except the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed. And you shall neither mistreat a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any way, and they cry at all to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath will become hot, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people who are poor among you, you shall not be like a money lender to him. You shall not charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's garments as a pledge, you shall return it to him before the sun goes down. For that is his only covering, it is his garment for his skin. What will he sleep in? And it will be that when he cries to me, I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile God, nor curse a ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe produce and your juices. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. Likewise, you shall do with your oxen and your sheep. It shall be with its mother 7 days. On the 8th day you shall give it to me, and you shall be holy men to me, and you shall not eat meat torn by beasts in the field, and you shall throw it to the dogs. All right, so these are just some more laws that God is laying down for the children of Israel currently. And one of the things here too that a lot of people like to use, right? I think it was in the other one, like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, foot for a foot, hand for a hand. It basically means that if you're going to do something to somebody, you have to repay it. So when, like, let's say that I was going to steal something, right? Especially in this time, if I stole something from my neighbor, then I would have to restore it. And sometimes you'd have to restore it twice fold too. So these are just some more laws that God's laying down for the children of Israel, and while they're currently on their way in the wilderness. All right, let's take a sip real quick of some water. Woo, okay. And we'll go on to Exodus 23. See if we get any other pop-ups. Also too, guys, just want to give a plug to the website that I'm using currently right now. It's called Bible Study Tools, and it's really great because it has all the books of the Bible in here. This is what I'm using to be able to share with you guys this, and it is a free website, so you can go in there. Sometimes they'll have little like pop-ups and things like that for more Christian things, but this is definitely a great website, like if you're trying to go and just kind of like read chapters or verses from different books of the Bible. All right, Exodus 23. You shall not circulate a false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a crowd to do evil, nor shall you testify in a dispute so as to turn aside after many to pervert justice. You shall not show partiality to a poor man in his dispute. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its burden, and you would refrain from helping it, you shall surely help him with it. You shall not prevent the judgment of your poor in his dispute. Keep yourself afar from a false matter. Do not kill the innocent and righteous, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the discerning and prevents the words of the righteous. Also, you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its produce, but the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field may eat. In like manner you shall do with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your female servant and the stranger may be refreshed. In all that I have said to you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, nor let it be heard from your mouth. 3 times you shall keep a feast to me in the year. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command you, at the time appointed in the month of Abib, for in it you came out of Egypt. None shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the firstfruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. 3 times in a year all your males shall appear before the Lord God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, nor shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until morning. The first of the firstfruits of your land you shall bring into the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. And you shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them and completely break down their sacred pillars. So you shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. No one shall suffer miscarriage or be barren in your land. I will fulfill the number of your days. I will send my fear before you. I will cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before you. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out from before you, until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea to the Sea of Philistia, and from the desert to the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. Again, right, there's just some more laws that are being handed down here. And the biggest thing too, God is saying this over and over and over again. You shall not serve other gods except for me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. He's giving them forewarning that if they bow down, if they sacrifice and worship other types of idols other than him, that where they are going, it's going to be a snare to their families and their generations. So God's trying to help them, be successful going into this new land that God has promised them. And these are some of the things that God is commanding them to do. And if you follow these laws and if you follow these statutes, then you'll have no sickness. There will not be, there won't be barrenness in your land, which is awesome, because that's something that happens a lot even in today's society, right? So, and also too, just a side note, my mom would be very upset with me because I have fumbled over some of the words, and I don't know what it is. There's some days I'm on when it comes to reading, and there's other days I'm not. So again, I apologize, but we're just going to continue on with the reading for this evening. So Exodus chapter 24. And then also too, before we start, if you're just joining us on the stream today, welcome. Usually on Mondays, I try to read half of a book of the Bible, and then we'll go into a game. But because of Monday, there were just some things that came up, so I moved it to today. So that's what we're doing for today. But let me know in the comments when you come by in the stream, what is so far, what is something that you've learned or gained insight on by reading, I know we're only in Exodus, only the second book of the Bible, but what are some things that you didn't realize were actually in the Bible that you've been able to kind of see now that we're really kind of reading along with this. Alrighty, Exodus chapter 24. Now he, being God, said to Moses, "Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the leaders of Israel, and worship from afar. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come near, nor shall the people go up with him." So Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, "All the words which the Lord has said we will do." And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. And he rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent young men of the children of Israel, who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. And Moses took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people. And they said, "All that the Lord has said we will do, and be obedient." And Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, "This is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you according to all these words." Then Moses went up, also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the Lord, and they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and it was like the heaven, or the very heavens, in its clarity. But on the nobles of the children of Israel he did not lay his hand. So they saw God, and they ate and drank. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone and the law and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them." So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has a difficulty, let him go to them." Then Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. Now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. And Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Okay. We're moving right along, chapter 25. Then the Lord said to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering which you shall take from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia wood, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil and for the sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show you, that is, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its furnishings. Just so you shall make it. And they shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and out you shall overlay it, and shall make on it a mold of gold all around. And you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in its 4 corners. 2 rings shall be on one side, and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. You shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried by them. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. And you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. Of hammered work you shall make them at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub at one end, and the other cherub at the other end. You shall make the cherubim at the 2 ends of each of it of one piece with the mercy seat. And the cherubim shall stretch out their wings above, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and they shall face one another. The faces of the cherubim shall be toward the mercy seat. You shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I will give you. And there I will meet with you, and I will speak with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim which are on the ark of the testimony, about everything which I will give you in commandment to the children of Israel. You shall also make a table of acacia wood. 2 cubits shall be its length, and 1 cubit its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, and make a molding of gold all around. And you shall make for it a frame of a hand breadth all around, and you shall make a gold molding for the frame all around. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that are at its 4 legs. The rings shall be close to the frame as holders for the poles to bear the table. Turn this down just a tiny bit, guys. I'll go up there. Okay. You shall make its dishes, its pans, its pitchers, and its bowls for pouring. You shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set the showbread on the table before me always. You shall also make a lampstand of pure gold. The lampstand shall be of hammered work. Its shaft, its branches, its bowls, its ornamental knobs, and flowers shall be of one piece. And 6 branches shall come out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. 3 bowls shall be made like almond blossoms on one branch with an ornamental knob and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch with an ornamental knob and a flower. And so for the 6 branches that come out of the lampstand. On the lampstand itself, 4 bowls shall be made like almond blossoms, each with its ornamental knob and flower. And there shall be a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that extend from the lampstand. Their knobs and their branches shall be of one piece. All of it shall be one hammered piece of pure gold. You shall make 7 lamps for it, and they shall arrange its lamps so that they give light in front of it. And its wick trimmers and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made of a talent of pure gold with all these utensils, and see to it that you make them according to the pattern which was shown you on the mountain. So basically what's happening right now is God is giving Moses commands, right, to basically build not really an altar, but it's more of like where they're going to house basically God. And there's going to be this beautiful like gold, what's it called? I'm blanking on it, guys. I apologize. It's going to be basically like the building in which God would reside, and that way he can also go with them, with the children of Israel, and in this, and the priests would carry this like tabernacle basically with them as they're going into these areas and as they're walking in the wilderness. But also too, like if you look at it, there's a lot of detail that goes into this. It's not just this, oh, like just create a box, call it good, and whatever. No, there's a lot of ornate detail that go into it. And detail is something that I would say that God is very good at, because I mean, if you think about it, right, God created this whole entire world and everything that's in it, the beautiful like way that the flowers, like the colors of the flowers, the colors of the sunsets, the color of the sun rises. I mean, if you look at the beautiful colors in the sky, God is very much a God of detail. And so when we're talking about like this place of where God would reside, it needs to be something that is detail oriented, and that is something that is holy. God's not going to be in some place that's not holy. So this is pretty much what God is talking with Moses with right now in those 40 days and 40 nights, is talking about how are you going to build this? What materials will you need to build it? What is the size of this? And you need to make it according to that specific size. So, all right, chapter 26. Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine woven linen and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. With artistic designs of cherubim, you shall weave them. The length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. And every one of the curtains shall have the same measurements. 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another. And you shall make loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain, on the selvage of one set, and likewise you shall do on the outer edge of the other curtain of the second set. 50 loops you shall make in the one curtain, and 50 loops you shall make on the edge of the curtain that is on the end of the second set. And the loops that the loops may be clasped to one another. And you shall make 50 clasps of gold, and couple the curtains together with the clasps, so that it may be one tabernacle. You shall also make curtains of goat's hair to be a tent over the tabernacle. You shall make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. And the 11 curtains shall all have the same measurements. And you shall couple 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. And you shall double over the 6th curtain at the forefront of the tent. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain of the second set. And you shall make 50 bronze clasps, put the clasps in the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be one. The remnant that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the tabernacle, and a cubit on one side and a cubit on the other side of what remains of the length of the curtains of the tent shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side to cover it. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the stream. And a cubit on one side and a cubit on the other side of what remains of the length of the curtains of the tent shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side to cover it. You shall also make a covering of ram skins dyed red for the tent, and a covering of badger skins above that. And for the tabernacle you shall make the boards of acacia wood, standing upright. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the width of each board. 2 tenons shall be in each board for binding one into another. Thus you shall make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And you shall make the boards for the tabernacle 20 boards for the south side. And you shall make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, The north side shall be 20 boards, and there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the far side of the tabernacle westward you shall make 6 boards, and you shall also make 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle. They shall be coupled together at the bottom, and they shall be coupled together at the top by 1 ring. Thus it shall be for both of them. They shall be for the 2 corners. So there shall be 8 boards with their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under each board. And you shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards of the side of the tabernacle for the far side westward. The middle bar shall pass through the midst of the boards from end to end. You shall overlay the boards with gold, make their rings of gold as holders for the bars, and overlay the bars with gold. And you shall raise up the tabernacle according to its pattern, which you were shown on the mountain. And you shall make a veil woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. It shall be woven with an artistic design of cherubim. You shall hang it above the 4 pillars of acacia wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be gold upon 4 sockets of silver, and you shall hang the veil from the clasps. Then you shall bring the ark of the testimony in there behind the veil. The veil shall be a divider for you between the holy place and the most holy. You shall put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy. You shall set the tabernacle outside the veil and the lampstand across from the table on the side of the tabernacle toward the south, and you shall put the table on the north side. You shall make a screen for the door of the tabernacle woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen made by a weaver. My bad. And you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold, and you shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them. So currently right now what's going on is we're getting more detail as to where the tabernacle should be housed when it is not in use. And so this becomes kind of the theme when it comes to going to like Jerusalem and Israel at another point in scripture that talks about, the temple and making it holy, with the reason for the veils was that there is only a certain place that people, just normal, regular, average people, would be able to go in and worship, whereas the certain priests would be able to actually get very close to the tabernacle, and since that is the presence of God at this time, he wanted to make sure that anybody that would come into his presence was fully holy. Like, if you're going to be in the presence of God, you have to be holy. So right now, though, up on the mountain, Moses and God are talking, and God is giving Moses instructions on how to build this. And so this is why we're getting this detail, is because God is very, very detailed. And that is really why we have chapters here that specifically outline in detail what that place is to look like. So for the next at least couple of chapters, we're going to have a lot of detail of what that looks like. And a lot of it has to do with the gold. Like, gold is very royal, regal, but it's also very pure. So with that, having that gold makes it more, I would say, in the interest of being pure and holy. So, and no, I'm not a scholar. No, I didn't go to Bible college, none of that kind of stuff. It's just me reading the Bible and getting information. Sometimes you pick up on things, even if it seems kind of mundane, but that's kind of where we're at right now in Exodus. All right, chapter 27. How is your day going today, Robert? All right, so chapter 27. You shall make an altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horns shall be of one piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. Also you shall make its pans to receive its ashes, and its shovels and its basins and its forks and its fire pans. You shall make all its utensils of bronze. You shall make a grate for it, a network of bronze, and on the network you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. You shall put it under the rim of the altar beneath, that the network may be midway up the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. Excuse me. The poles shall be put in the rings, and the poles shall be on the two sides of the altar to bear it. You shall make it hollow with boards, as it was shown you on the mountain, so shall you make it. You shall also make the court of the tabernacle. For the south side there shall be hangings for the court made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side, and its 20 pillars and their 20 sockets shall be bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be silver. Likewise, along the length of the north side there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, with its 20 pillars and their 20 sockets of bronze, and the hooks of the pillars and their bands of silver. And along the width of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, with their 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The width of the court on the east side shall be 50 cubits. The hangings on one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And on the other side shall be hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. For the gate of the court there shall be a screen 20 cubits long, woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. It shall have 4 pillars and 4 sockets. All the pillars around the court shall have bands of silver, their hooks shall be of silver, and their sockets of bronze. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, the width 50 throughout, and the height 5 cubits, made of fine woven linen, and its sockets of bronze. All the utensils of the tabernacle for all its service, all its pegs, and all the pegs of the court shall be of bronze. And you shall command the children of Israel that they bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. In the tabernacle of meeting outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall tend it from evening until morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever to their generations on behalf of the children of Israel. All right, chapter 28. Now take Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as priest. Me as priest. Aaron and Aaron's sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments, to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. Remember, like what I was talking about? This is what God is commanding, that there are certain garments to be worn when you are in the presence of God, due to glory and beauty. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. So they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as priest. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen, and they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, artistically worked. It shall have 2 shoulder straps joined at its 2 edges, and so it shall be joined together. And the intricately woven band of the ephod, which is on it, shall be of the same workmanship, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. Then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone and 6 names on the other stone, in order of their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, you shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall set them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as a memorial stones for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. You shall also make settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the settings. You shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. You shall make it. It shall be doubled into a square. A span shall be its length, and a span shall be its width. And you shall put settings of stone in it. 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be sardius, a topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. The second row shall be turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, jacinth, an agate, or agate, I believe, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold settings. And the stone shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes. You shall make chains for the breastplate at the end, like braided cords of pure gold. And you shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. Then you shall put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 braided chains you shall fasten to the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in the front. And you shall make 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the ephod. And 2 other rings of gold you shall make, and put them on the 2 shoulder straps, underneath the ephod towards its front, right at the seam above the intricately woven band of the ephod. They shall bind the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod using a blue cord, so that it is above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and so that the breastplate does not come loose from the ephod. So Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of judgment over his heart, when he goes into the holy place as a memorial before the Lord continually. And you shall put into the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be over Aaron's heart when he goes in before the Lord. So Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord continually. You shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue. There shall be an opening for his head in the middle of it. It shall have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening in a coat of mail, so that it does not tear. And upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, upon the hem of the robe all around. And it shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, and its sound will be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, that he may not die. You shall also make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And you shall put it on a blue cord, that it may be on the turban. It shall be on the front of the turban. So it shall be on Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of all holy things which the children of Israel hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall always be on his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. You shall skillfully weave the tunic of fine linen thread. You shall make the turban of fine linen, and you shall make the sash of woven work. For Aaron's sons you shall make tunics, and you shall make sashes. Oh my gosh, I can't say tonight. Sashes for them, and you shall make hats for them for glory and beauty. So you shall put them on Aaron your brother and on his sons with him. You shall anoint them, consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister to me as priests. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness. They shall reach from the waist to the thighs. They shall be on Aaron and on his sons when they come into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister in the holy place, that they do not incur iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever to him and his descendants after him. So again, right, like God is just basically putting forth what it's going to look like for the priests who are going to be serving on behalf of the children of Israel to God, to like intercede to God when they make their sacrifices to him being God. You also have the priests that are also going to be making specific sacrifices as well in the presence of God. And so these are certain things, right? Like he's saying like you need to have these things so that way you don't die, because right, like us mortal human beings, we cannot, our physical bodies cannot handle the glory of God. They can't, because God is God, and we would not be able to stand anywhere near in the presence of God. And so what God is doing in this point, right, is he is appointing Aaron and his sons to be priests to intercede on behalf of the children of Israel, to then Aaron and his sons would then be able to go into the presence of God. I feel like I'm just basically talking over what you guys have already read and heard. So we'll go ahead and take a quick little sip of some water or something to coat our throat here. and we will continue on our way. But I am curious though, honestly. I'm curious to know if there's anything that you've learned from being here in these streams or watching it on YouTube, right? Because if you didn't know, I am posting this onto my YouTube channel. So that way we can have a kind of a running log of the Bible reading sessions that we do. But I am curious, is there anything that you've kind of gained insight in? Are there things that you didn't realize in like Genesis and now in Exodus that you had heard about, but you didn't actually know like what the context of that piece of reading was about? I am really curious to know, just because every time I read the Bible, I always gain insight on something different. Like I was thinking as I was reading about the 12 tribes of Israel, it makes me wonder, is that why we have 12 months? I don't know, it probably not, but it makes me think like, okay, I know that 12 is really important. I know 3 is really important. 7 is really important. Even 40 is a really important number in the Bible. So, yeah, I'm really curious. If you feel like putting it in chat tonight, awesome. If you feel like putting it in the comments on YouTube, awesome. If not, it's just something to kind of ponder, think about. But hopefully you are gaining at least something from it. With us actually reading through the Bible. And again, this version is the New King James Version. It's my favorite version to read, because if I had just the King James Version, you'd have the these, the thys, the thous. So this one just has shall, I guess, like you shall or shall not. So, and apparently I'm having a really hard time with that tonight. All right, so we're now on Exodus chapter 29. And this is what you shall do to them to hallow them for ministering to me as priests. Take 1 young bull and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread, unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil. You shall make them of wheat flour. You shall put them in 1 basket and bring them in the basket with the bull and the 2 rams. Yeah, yes, it does give Shakespeare. If you read, yes, the King James Version. Yes, very, very Shakespearean. Absolutely. Let's see. And we'll start on verse 4. And Aaron and his sons you shall bring to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and you shall wash them with water. Then you shall take the garments, put the tunic on Aaron, and the robe of the ephod and the breastplate, and gird him with the intricately woven band of the ephod. And you shall put the turban on his head, and put the holy crown on the turban. And you shall take the anointing oil, pour it on his head, and anoint him. Then you shall bring his sons, and put tunics on them. And you shall gird them with sashes, Aaron and his sons, and put the hats on them. The priests shall be theirs for a perpetual, the priesthood shall be theirs for a perpetual statute. So you shall consecrate Aaron and his sons. And you shall also have the bull brought before the tabernacle of meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands on the head of the bull. Then you shall kill the bull before the Lord by the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And you shall take some of the blood of the bull and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour all the blood beside the base of the altar. And you shall take all the fat that covers the entrails, the fatty lobe attached to the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, and burn them on the altar. But the flesh of the bull with its skin and its offal you shall burn with fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering. You shall also take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands on the head of the ram. And you shall kill the ram, and you shall take its blood and sprinkle it all around on the altar. Then you shall cut the ram in pieces, wash its entrails and its legs, and put them with its pieces and with its head. And you shall burn the whole ram on the altar. It is a burnt offering to the Lord. It is a sweet aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. You shall also take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands on the head of the ram. Then you shall kill the ram and take some of its blood and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and on the tip of the right ear of his sons, on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood all around the altar. And you shall take some of the blood that is on the altar and some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Aaron and on his garments, on his sons and on the garments of his sons with him. And he and his garments shall be hallowed, and his sons garments with him. Also you shall take the fat of the ram, the fat tail, the fat that covers the entrails, the fatty lobe attached to the liver, the 2 kidneys, and the fat on them, the right thigh. That is a ram of consecration. 1 loaf of bread, 1 cake made with oil, and 1 wafer from the basket of the unleavened bread that is before the Lord. And you shall put all these in the hands of Aaron and in the hands of his sons, and you shall wave them as a wave offering before the Lord. Well, hello! Welcome, Michael, to the stream. And you shall put these in the hands of Aaron and in the hands of his sons, and you shall wave them as a wave offering before the Lord. And you shall receive them back from their hands and burn them on the altar as a burnt offering, as a sweet aroma before the Lord. It is an offering made by fire to the Lord. Then you shall take the breast of the ram of Aaron's consecration and wave it as a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be your portion. And from the ram of the consecration you shall consecrate the breast of the wave offering which is waved, and the thigh of the heave offering which is raised, and of that which is for Aaron, and of that which is for his sons. Yes, Michael, yes, it is so much fun to read. A lot of detail that goes into Exodus for sure. This kind of started because the church that we're going to basically had this what's it called? A challenge to read the entire Bible in a month. And there were people in our church that actually did that. They went through the entire Bible in a month. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could try to do maybe half of a book once a week. And so currently right now we're going to finish up Exodus tonight. And then starting on Monday next week, we'll kick it back off with Leviticus. So we're just gonna go through, start with the Old Testament, then go into the New Testament, because I think that starting in the Old gives us that base that we need in order to kind of read and hear the story that comes from the New Testament. The Denom currently right now, we are going to, they call themselves a Pentecostal church, but it's not like a traditional Pentecostal where people are running up and down the aisles. It's not that way at all, but I really like it. And the pastor, I think, has some really good teachings. So that's the kind of church that we're currently going to. So we were going to a non-denominational church, and we didn't really have a home church for a while. But now we're going to it's called The Pursuit. That's the name of the church. And it is local, which is nice, but they also reach to people around the entire world. So it's pretty good. I like a lot of the sermons that they have the last, I think, 4 weeks, last 5 weeks at the beginning of the year. The pastor's on a sermon series called, I think it was Dirty Words, but basically it was about topics that aren't really necessarily talked about in church. And I thought that he did a really good job presenting some information based off of those topics. So they do have a YouTube channel as well. So if that's something that you'd like to look at, I highly recommend it. But that's the church that we're currently going to. So, but welcome to the stream. Alrighty, so I think we left off on verse 28, so we'll go ahead and start there. It shall be from the children of Israel for Aaron and his sons by a statute forever, for it is a heave offering. It shall be a heave offering from the children of Israel, from the sacrifices of their peace offerings, that is, their heave offering to the Lord. And the holy garments of Aaron shall be his sons' after him, to be anointed in them, and to be consecrated in them. That son who becomes priest in his place shall put them on for 7 days, when he enters the tabernacle of meeting to minister in the holy place. And you shall take the ram of consecration and boil its flesh in the holy place. Then Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket by the door of the tabernacle of meeting. They shall eat those things with which the atonement was made to consecrate and to sanctify them. But an outsider shall not eat them, because they are holy. And if any of the flesh of the consecration offerings or of the bread remains until the morning, then you shall burn the remainder with fire. It shall not be eaten, because it is holy. Thus you shall do to Aaron and his sons according to all that I have commanded you. 7 days you shall consecrate them. And you shall offer a bull every day as a sin offering for atonement. You shall cleanse the altar when you make atonement for it, and you shall anoint it to sanctify it. 7 days you shall make atonement for the altar and sanctify it, and the altar shall be most holy. Whatever touches the altar must be holy. Now this is what you shall offer on the altar: 2 lambs of the first year, day by day continually. 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at twilight. With the 1 lamb shall be 1/10 of an ephah ephah of flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of pressed oil and 1/4 of a hin of wine as a drink offering. And the other lamb you shall offer at twilight, and you shall offer with it the grain offering and the drink offering, as in the morning for a sweet aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of meeting before the Lord, where I will meet you to speak with you. And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. So I will consecrate the tabernacle of meeting and the altar. I will also consecrate both Aaron and his sons to minister to me as priests. I will dwell among the children of Israel and will be their God, and they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them up out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. Oh, very nice, Michael. Oh, no, you're good. What's up? So usually after we get through the chapter, I'll kind of put a couple like my 2 cents in there. Yeah, so basically right now, this is also going to be some of the rules that Aaron and his sons will need to follow as priests, right? In order to be consecrated as priests. So that is one of the things that in here, we get to see, right, from specifically from God. A lot of people, I think, sometimes think that, it was just something that was, kind of thrown in there, or it's just something that people follow. But this was literally a commandment from God that said that this is what needs to follow in order to be a priest. And then, Michael, for me personally, I believe that a baptism is an outward sign of your faith. It's funny that this is being brought up because my husband and I actually, we will have discussions on this topic. Not like pretty regularly, but we've definitely had conversations about it pretty regularly. I personally believe that when Jesus in the New Testament, right, when he went and got baptized by John the Baptist, that was a significant sign of even Jesus himself being baptized, and when he came up, the Holy Spirit came and rested on him in the form of a dove, right? And so I personally believe that it is an outward sign that when you say that, yes, I've accepted Jesus Christ into my heart, I want to follow him, and you start to grow in your faith, that having that baptism as that outward sign, not only for yourself to know that you are now part of the family of God, but that way also your the congregation you're with, or the church that you're with, or the group of people that you absolutely love to be around, they can also help you and keep you accountable on your walk and in your faith with Christ. I also think too that I would say that in some ways it saves you, but I go a step further, because the Bible specifically says that if you confess with your mouth that I am Lord, and you believe in your heart that you are saved, then you're saved. I think that it's more of that outward sign, whereas when you just say that I believe in you, Lord, I believe in you, Jesus, I want you to come into my life, I believe you, that I think makes you saved. But I personally think that sometimes, and I could be totally off my rocker on this, but I think that outward also just testimony of being baptized, and it doesn't say that you just have to be baptized once, right? Like I personally was baptized when I was 12 years old. So I was baptized when I was 12 at a church that I was going to with my family. Even as an adult in my 30s now, I've actually considered being rebaptized to just show that just be rebaptized to kind of strengthen that faith that I have. I apologize. The music on my side's a lot louder, I think, on your guys' side, so that's why I keep like losing my train of thought. So Michael, I'm really happy that you're bringing this up, because this is one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of go through the entire Bible, was to kind of go through like chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and bring those up specifically when it comes to those parts. Because even for me as a Christian my entire life, there are still verses and passages that I forget all the time. And so that was something that I just was on my heart to put it out here on Twitch. And I don't know how many people actually like do things like this where they come in and they read the Bible. So I love this type of conversation because of the fact that it's good to have that. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I love this type of questioning, and I think it's good to have those types of conversations too. This completely off topic, and then we'll get into Exodus chapter 30, and then we've got 10 more chapters, and we're going to finish up Exodus tonight. But it was one of the things that when I had kind of brought this up to my husband about bringing this on and kind of reading the Bible, is he definitely has reservations, especially when it comes to, it can be kind of controversial topics about the Bible. I am someone, though, that I really like to have types of dialogues like this, to see what other people believe, have those types of conversations, and then bring it back to scripture and go, okay, that's how we're interpreting this verse. And that's another reason why I love the Bible so much, is that no matter how many times you read it, it's still the living, breathing word of God. And like, you could read the Bible 1.5 million times, and that 1.5 million or the 1,000,001 time that you read it, you get something completely different out of it that you hadn't the last couple of times. So I love it. So I think that it's a great question to ask, and I'm really happy that you did. I think that once we get closer to that specific spot in the Bible that talks about baptism, I probably will have some more, have more of an idea of kind of where that's at. But that's just where I personally stand when it comes to baptism. I think that it is very important, and as I've gotten older too, in some ways, but I'd have to see if it's actually scripturally based. That picture of the Holy Spirit coming down and like resting on Jesus's shoulders. A lot of times I think that too. Like when you get baptized, I think it's another invitation for the Holy Spirit to come in. So there, and that may not be completely scripturally based, but it's that visual representation of Jesus even being baptized, the Holy Spirit resting on his shoulders after he comes out of the water, is such a beautiful picture of even Jesus humbling himself to be baptized and paving that way for us in that representation. Alrighty, Exodus chapter 30, here we go. All right, so you shall make an altar to burn incense on you. You shall make it of acacia wood. A cubit shall be its length, and a cubit its width. It shall be square, and 2 cubits shall be its height. Its horns shall be of one piece with it. And you shall overlay its top, its sides all around, and its horns with pure gold. And you shall make for it a molding of gold all around. 2 gold rings you shall make for it under the molding on both of its sides. You shall place them on its 2 sides, and they will be holders for the poles with which to bear it. You shall make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. And you shall put it before the veil that is before the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I will meet with you. Aaron shall burn on it sweet incense every morning when he tends the lamps, and he shall burn incense on it. And when Aaron lights the lamps at twilight, he shall burn incense on it, a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations. You shall not offer strange incense on it, or a burnt offering, or a grain offering, nor shall you pour a drink offering on it. And Aaron shall make atonement upon its horns once a year with the blood of the sin offering of atonement. Once a year he shall make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy to the Lord. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, When you take the census of the children of Israel for their number, then every man shall give a ransom for himself to the Lord when you number them, that there may be no plague among them when you number them. This is what everyone among those who are numbered shall give: half a shekel according to the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs. The half shekel shall be an offering to the Lord. Everyone included among those who are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering to the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when you give an offering to the Lord to make atonement for yourselves. And you shall take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shall appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of meeting, that it may be a memorial for the children of Israel before the Lord to make atonement for yourselves. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, You shall also make a laver of bronze, with its base also of bronze for washing. And you shall put it between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and you shall put water in it. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet in water from it. When they go into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister, to burn an offering made by fire to the Lord, they shall wash with water, lest they die. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, lest they die. And it shall be a statute forever to them, to him and his descendants throughout the generations. Moreover, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Also take for yourself quality spices, 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much sweet-smelling cinnamon, 250 shekels, 250 shekels of sweet-smelling cane, 500 shekels of cassia, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And you shall make from these a holy atoning oil, an atonement compounded according to the art of the perfumer. It shall be a holy atoning oil. With it you shall anoint the tabernacle of meeting and the ark of the testimony, the table and all its utensils, the lampstand and its utensils, and the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, and the laver and its base. And you shall consecrate them that they may be most holy. Whatever touches them must be holy. And you shall anoint Aaron and his sons and consecrate them that they may minister to me as priests. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, This shall be a holy anointing oil to me throughout your generations. It shall not be poured on man's flesh, nor shall you make any other like it, according to its composition. Excuse me. It is holy and shall be holy to you. Whoever compounds any like it, or whoever puts any of it on an outsider, shall be cut off from his people. And the Lord said to Moses, Take sweet spices, stace, and onycha, and galbanum, and pure frankincense with these sweet spices. There shall be equal amounts of each. And you shall make of these an incense, a compound according to the art of the perfumer, salted, pure, and holy. And you shall beat some of it very fine, and put some of it before the testimony and the tabernacle of meeting, where I will meet with you. It shall be most holy to you. But as for the incense which you shall make, you shall not make any for yourselves, according to its composition. It shall be to you holy for the Lord. Whoever makes any like it, to smell it, he shall be cut off from his people. All right, so that was chapter 30. And one of the things I think that when God is explaining a lot of these things to Moses on what needs to be done, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of things that have to be followed. And again, God says that whoever makes any like this sweet smelling aroma, he shall be cut off from his people. And it's not like, yes, I do believe that God is a God of love and God is a God of mercy, but he's also a just God. And when he says that something needs to be followed, he means it. And so if they do, again, whoever makes any like it, to smell it, he shall be cut off from his people. So that's something that I personally think that sometimes I think God's misunderstood that way. I just think that a lot of times people think that God's just a God of love, but it's not. Especially in the Old Testament, there was a lot of law that had to be put down, and God put that law down there specifically for a reason, for especially the children of Israel. As we get further into this book, you'll see some of the, I'm trying not to spoil anything if it's your first time reading through Exodus, but there are definitely some things that happen, and this is one of the reasons why God specifically puts down laws for some of those reasons that come up. But yeah, sorry, Michael, I'm also reading your message as well in here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I've on it like so something that like I with the way that I grew up as a, what was it? I think we were Presbyterian for a while, and then for the more majority of my life I've been a non-denominational Christian. But I do like understanding the differences for people in different like maybe not religious groups, but it's kind of like that, right? Denominations. Okay, very nice. I think that there is I think that there are certain denominations I do not believe with. Like, I do not believe in, but I think that that is one of the reasons why there's so many different denominations out there, is because you might believe in one for a season of your life, and then you may change to another one at another time in your life. But for me personally, when it comes to a church or it comes to a denomination, I want to know that they're reading specifically from the Bible. Like, that is a full, like, that is the first prerequisite for me, is that you're reading specifically from the Bible. I have been to churches where some people will read like an excerpt from something else, so they're going through a different book, but it's got biblical like principles and things like that. For me personally, I want to have the actual Bible being read. Very nice. And you know what? I think that that's important. I think it's important too, Michael, to kind of go through, right? What you specifically like truly believe in. What are the things that you are, I would say, in your Christian faith, what are those important values that you are striving towards? And if the church that you're currently going to, or the denomination that you are a part of, does not meet those values that you are striving towards, then looking at a different denomination to figure out what they believe in, what they support, all those types of things is important. And I think it's good too, because even in the Bible too, it says test the spirits. So if there's, you know, if you're going to a church for years because your family went to it, you know, maybe sometimes it's good to try to branch out and go to another church and figure out why it is that, you know, maybe you don't align with everything that your parents had when you were a kid, but now it's, as you're an adult, you want to try something different. And I think it's good to go and test those different denominations out to see what you like about it and what you don't like about it. But you're not going to know unless you actually go to a church service, multiple church services, to see like what the content of the actual church is representing. Okay. Okay. Very interesting, Michael. I definitely think that is something that we'll definitely get into, hopefully, when we get into that New Testament. And I feel like Luke has a really good account. Luke's just the doctor, and so he's very, very detailed when it comes to those parts, like in those specific like sections of the Bible. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Dr. Luke. I know that he's very winded, but I think personally he has a way better account, especially of the birth of Jesus, than the other accounts have. So yeah. Yeah, I know. I try. If depending on the book of the Bible, how many chapters there are, I try to get through half. Like that's my goal, at least. All right, Exodus chapter 31. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "See, I have called my name Beelz." Oh, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, and I apologize. Bezalel. No. See, I have called by name Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and understanding and knowledge and in all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold and silver and bronze, in cutting jewels of for setting, in carving wood, and to work in all manner of workmanship. And I have appointed with him Aholiab and the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan. And I have put wisdom in the hearts of all who are gifted artisans, that they may make all that I have commanded you: the tabernacle of meeting, the ark of the testimony, and the mercy seat that is on it, and all the furniture of the tabernacle, the table and its utensils, the pure gold lampstand with all its utensils, the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, and the laver in its base, the garments of ministry, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister as priests, and the anointing oil and sweet incense for the holy place, according to all that I have commanded you, they shall do. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak also to the children of Israel, saying, Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death, for whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested, and he was refreshed. And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. So here is where we get the actual 10 commandments. It specifically says it right here too, that God gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. So, oh, very nice, Michael. Okay, very nice. Yes, no, I think that online is really, really cool, especially if, like, let's say you're, I would say if you're on vacation or something like that and you can't make it to church. I mean, if you're on vacation, it's also a good time, I think, to find another church. Now, I say that, but do I actually practice that? No. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't practice that. I should. Yeah. No, I do like that. Yeah, you definitely have to touch grass. Yeah. Get away from being, as some of the people say, the keyboard warriors, and let's get in like actual, let's actually like talk about things. Let's, put ourselves in an actual seat and meet people and be in the real world instead of just being on the online world. Absolutely agree. All right. Exodus 32. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, okay, guys, sorry, I have to stop this. I apologize for stopping. This, I'm going to preface here. This is what I was referring to a couple chapters back. So just be prepared that stuff's going to go down. All right. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, Come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. Oh, I shake my head and laugh at this. Oh my gosh. And it's not a ha-ha laugh. It's a, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me laugh. And he received the gold, Aaron did, from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. Then they said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And the Lord said to Moses, Go, get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. Then Moses pleaded with the Lord his God and said, Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak and say, He brought them out to harm them, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath and relent from this harm to your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. So the Lord relented from the harm which he said he would do to his people. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides, on the one side and on the other they were written. Now the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp. But he said, it is not the noise of the shout of victory, nor the noise of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear. So it was, as soon as he came near the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. So Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. Then he took the calf, which they had made, burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder. And he scattered it on the water and made the children of Israel drink it. Goodness. And Moses said to Aaron, what did this people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them? So Aaron said, do not let the anger of my Lord become hot. You know the people, that they are set on evil. For they said to me, make us gods that shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And I said to them, whoever has any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it to me, and I cast it into the fire, and this calf came out. Oh, a lot of blame gaming going on here. Now, when Moses saw that the people were unrestrained, for Aaron had not restrained them, to their shame among their enemies, then Moses stood in the entrance of the camp and said, whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. And he said to them, thus says the Lord God of Israel, let every man put his sword on his side and go in and out from entrance to entrance throughout the camp, and let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. So the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. Then Moses said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, that he may bestow on you a blessing this day, for every man has opposed his son and his brother. Now it came to pass on the next day that Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin. So now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. Then Moses returned to the Lord and said, oh, these people have committed a great sin and have made for themselves a god of gold. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. And the Lord said to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Now therefore go, lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit your punishment, I will visit punishment upon them for their sin. So the Lord plagued the people because of what they did with the calf which Aaron made. Dude, man, yeah. Oh, Michael, very true. Very, very true. Yeah. So we have to think about it too in contexts of us, right? If we were in that situation and Moses was gone for 40 days and 40 nights, there might be part of, me being just a human being and me being a flesh, there could be a part of me that might see like Moses not being there as maybe he died. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's not going to come back anymore. The other problem that I have with this, though, is that ever since the beginning, like when we first started in the book of Exodus, the children of Israel even complained to Moses when they had all the different plagues that came upon the Egyptians, right? That very first plague when no, it wasn't even a plague. I'm sorry, my bad. When Moses the first time went up to Pharaoh, and he said, and Moses said, "Let my people go, that they may serve the Lord." And Pharaoh's like, yeah, okay, sure. And he took away their straw, and they had to use rubble in order to continue building the pyramids. They got all mad at Moses because they were like, oh, well, you're the one that did this to us. You're the one that's making it harder for us. I don't understand why. But anyway, though, the children of Israel, unfortunately, have problems when it comes to following through and believing in God, even though he brought them out of the land of Egypt, literally brought them out. And you have a pillar of fire by day or the cloud by day, and then a pillar of fire by night. I don't understand with all of those signs how you could still think that you'd want to have a golden calf. I mean, I get it, right? They came from Egypt, and Egypt is very much a land that worships false gods and idols and things of that nature. But Again, though, it would still be like, I want to say that it would be very easy for me to follow that. But again, though, they're in a completely different situation than we are. So we have to think of it in terms like that. But still, God's anger was burning hot that day for sure against the children of Israel. So, all right, chapter 33. Let's see what else we have. All right, Exodus 33. Then the Lord said to Moses, depart and go up from here, you and the people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your descendants I will give it. And I will send my angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanite, and the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up. For I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people. And when the people heard this bad news, they mourned, and no one put on his ornaments. For the Lord had said to Moses, say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. I could come up into your midst in one moment and consume you. Now therefore take off your ornaments, that I may know what to do to you. So the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Horeb. Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. And it came to pass that everyone who sought the Lord went out to the tabernacle of meeting, which was outside the camp. So it was whenever Moses went out to the tabernacle that all the people rose, and each man stood at his tent door and watched Moses until he had gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass when Moses entered the tabernacle that the pillar of cloud descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord talked with Moses. All the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose and worshipped, each man in his tent door. So the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend, and he would return to the camp. But his servant Joshua the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from the tabernacle. Honestly, love Joshua. Then Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. And he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then he said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. For how then will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are upon the face of the earth. So the Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, please show me your glory. Then he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. And the Lord said, here is a place by me, and you shall stand on the rock. So it shall be when my glory passes by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and you will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. So crazy. But again, so I think that this is another important verse here. So verse 19. Then God said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. Sometimes I think people think that, this is just what if you are a Christian, these are some things that you've heard, right? Like, why does God do bad things to good people, or all those types of things, right? God specifically says it here in Exodus. In Exodus, I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. We do not know the Lord's ways. We do not. And Moses didn't even get to see God's face, because he says that if any man sees my face, he will die. Man cannot see God and live. It is what it is. It's the way that this world was created. And I think that it also has to do with the fall. When Adam and Eve sinned, they were then removed from the presence of God. And because they were then removed from the presence of God, there's now all of these things that unfortunately happen, that we don't have that same, communion or presence that even Adam and Eve had with God. Still think it was kind of cool that Moses got to see the backside of God. I mean, seriously. And he was able to live and still tell about it. So stinking cool. All right, Exodus chapter 34. We got 6 more chapters, guys. 6 more, then we're done with the book of Exodus. Can you believe it? And the Lord said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones, and I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. So be ready in the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai and present yourself to me there on the top of the mountain. And no man shall come up with you, and let no man be seen throughout all the mountain. Let neither flocks nor herds feed before that mountain. So he cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Then Moses rose early in the morning and went up to Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, and he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. Now the Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. Excuse me. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. Sorry, guys. Okay, we're good. So Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. Then he said, if now I have found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray, go among us, even though we are a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. And he said, behold, I make a covenant. Before all your people I will do marvels such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation. And all the people among whom you are shall seek the work of the Lord, for it is an awesome thing that I will do with you. Observe what I command you this day. Behold, I am driving out from before you the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Jebite and the Jebusite. Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. But you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, and cut down their wooden images. For you shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their gods and make sacrifice to their gods, and one of them invites you, and you eat of his sacrifice. And you take of his daughters for your sons, and his daughters play the harlot with their gods, and make your sons play the harlot with their gods. You shall make no molded gods for yourselves. The feast of unleavened bread you shall keep. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread as I command you, in the appointed time of the month of Abib. For the month of Abib you came out of Egypt. All that open the womb are mine, and every male firstborn among your livestock, whether ox or sheep. But the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. I still think that that's so profound right there. And if you will not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem, and none shall appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall rest. In plowing time and in harvest you shall rest. And you shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. 3 times in the year all your men shall appear before the Lord and the Lord God of Israel. For I will cast out the nations before you and enlarge your borders. Neither will any man covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord your God 3 times in the year. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, nor shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left until morning. The first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Then the Lord said to Moses, write these words, for according to the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. So he was there with the Lord 40 days, another 40 days and 40 nights. He neither ate bread nor drank water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Now it was so, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Then Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. Afterward, all the children of Israel came near, and he gave them as commandments all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with them, he would take the veil off until he came out, and he would come out and speak to the children of Israel whatever he had been commanded. And whenever the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, then Moses would put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with him. All right, chapter 35, guys. I'm going to take a very, very quick break, guys. And we will be back with some more. So I will go ahead and let this music play in the background, but we'll be back in just a few. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you're able to get some drink, or we're able to just take a little bit of time. But we're going to go ahead and continue. All right. We are on chapter 35. 5 more chapters, guys. Then Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, "These are the words which the Lord has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death, and you shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day." And Moses spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, "This is the thing which the Lord commanded, saying, Take from among you an offering to the Lord. Whoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it as an offering to the Lord: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia wood, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil and for the sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod, in the breastplate. And all who are gifted artisans among you shall come and make all that the Lord has commanded: the tabernacle, its tents, its coverings, its clasps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, the ark and its poles with the mercy seat and the veil of the covering, the table and its poles, all its utensils, and the showbread, also the lampstand for the light, its utensils, its lamps, and the oil for the light, the incense altar, its poles, the atoning or anointing oil, the sweet incense, and the screen for the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle, the altar of burnt offering with its bronze grating, its poles, all its utensils, and the laver and its base, and the hanging of the court, its pillars, their sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court, the pegs of the tabernacle, the pegs of the court, and their cords, the garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron, the priests, and the garments of his sons to minister as priests." And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. Then everyone came whose heart was stirred, and everyone whose spirit was willing, and they brought the Lord's offering for the work of the tabernacle of meeting, for all its service, and for the holy garments. They came, both men and women, as many as had a willing heart, and brought earrings and nose rings, rings and necklaces, all jewelry of gold, that is, every man who had made an offering of gold to the Lord. And every man with whom was found blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, red skins of rams and badger skins, brought them. Everyone who offered an offering of silver or bronze brought the Lord's offering, and everyone with whom was found acacia wood for any work of the service brought it. All the women who were gifted artisans spun yarn with their hands and brought what they had spun of blue, purple, and scarlet, and fine linen. And all the women whose hearts stirred with wisdom spun yarns of goats' hair. The rulers brought onyx stones and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate, and spices and oil for the light, for the atoning oil, and for the sweet incense. Excuse me. The children of Israel brought a free will offering to the Lord, all the men and women whose hearts were willing to bring material for all kinds of works which the Lord by the hand of Moses had commanded to be done. And Moses said to the children of Israel, "See, the Lord has called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God and wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold and silver and bronze, in cutting jewels for setting and carving wood, and to work in all manner of artistic workmanship. And he has put in his heart the ability to teach in him and Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. He has filled them with skill to do all manner of work of the engraver and the designer and the tapestry maker in blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen, and of the weaver, those who do every work, and those who design artistic works." All right, that was chapter 35, guys. Now 36. All right. Chapter 36. And Bezalel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whom the Lord has put wisdom and understanding to know how to do all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, shall do according to all that the Lord has commanded. Then Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, everyone whose heart was stirred, to come and to do the work, and they received from Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of making the sanctuary. So they continued bringing to him free will offerings every morning. Then all the craftsmen who were doing all the work of the sanctuary came, each from the work he was doing. And they spoke to Moses, saying, "The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which the Lord commanded us to do." So Moses gave a commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, "Let neither man nor woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary." And the people were restrained from bringing, for the material they had was sufficient for all the work to be done, indeed too much. And all the gifted artisans among them who worked on the tabernacle made 10 curtains woven of fine linen and of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, which artistic designs of cherubim they made them. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all the same size, and he coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled to one another. He made loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain on the selvedge of one set. Likewise, he did on the outer edge of the other curtain on the second set. 50 loops he made on one curtain, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the end of the second set. The loops held one curtain to one another, or to another. And he made 50 clasps of gold, and coupled the curtains to one another with the clasps, that it might be one tabernacle. He made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. He made 11 curtains. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains were the same size. He coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the second set. He also made 50 bronze clasps to couple the tent together, that it might be one. Then he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins above that. For the tabernacle he made boards of acacia wood, standing upright. The length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board 1.5 cubits. Each board had 2 tenons for binding one to another. Thus he made for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. 40 sockets of silver he made to go under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, he made 20 boards. And there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the west side of the tabernacle, he made 6 boards. He also made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle, and they were coupled at the bottom and coupled together at the top by 1 ring. Thus he made both of them for the 2 corners. So there were 8 boards and their sockets, 16 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle. The 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle on the far side westward. And he made the middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to the other. He overlaid the boards with gold, made their rings of gold to be holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made a veil of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. It was worked with an artistic design of cherubim. He made for it 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. He also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, made by a weaver, and its 5 pillars with its hooks. And he overlaid their capitals and their rings with gold, but their 5 sockets were bronze. All right, chapter 37, we got 3 more chapters. Let's go. We can pump this out, guys. Then Bezaleel made the ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits was its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. He overlaid it with pure gold inside and outside, and made a molding of gold all around it. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side of it. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, and he put the poles into the rings at the sides of the ark to bear the ark. He also made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits was its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. He made 2 cherubim of beaten gold. He made them of one piece at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherub at one end of this side, and the other cherub at the other end on that side. He made the cherubim at the 2 ends of one piece with the mercy seat. The cherubim spread out their wings above and covered the mercy seat with their wings. They faced one another. The faces of the cherubim were toward the mercy seat. He made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length, 1 cubit its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold and made a molding of gold all around it. Also he made a frame of a handbreadth all around it, and made a molding of gold for the frame all around it. And he cast four rings of gold and put the rings on the four corners that were at its four legs. The rings were closed to the frame as holders for the pole bearers to bear the table. And he made the poles of acacia wood to bear the table and overlaid them with gold. He made of pure gold the utensils which were on the table, its dishes, its cups, its bowls, and its pitchers for pouring. And he also made the lampstand of pure gold. Of hammered work he made the lampstand, its shafts, its branches, its bowls, its ornamental knobs, and its flowers were of the same piece. And 6 branches came out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. There were 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on one branch with an ornamental knob and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch with an ornamental knob and a flower. And so for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself were four bowls made like almond blossoms, each with its ornamental knob and flower. There was a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches extending from it. Their knobs and their branches were of one piece. All of it was one hammered piece of pure gold. And he made its 7 lamps, its wick trimmers, and its trays of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he made it with all its utensils. He made the incense altar of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit and its width a cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits was its height. Its horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with pure gold, its tops, its sides all around, and its horns. He also made for it a molding of gold all around it. He made 2 rings of gold for it under its molding by its 2 corners on both sides as holders for the poles with which to bear it. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices according to the work of the perfumer. All right, so we're getting to the point now where Moses is fulfilling what God has asked him to do, which is building the tabernacle and all of the pieces therein. All right, Exodus 38. He made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its width. It was square, and its height was 3 cubits. He made its horns on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. He made all the utensils for the altar: the pans, the shovels, the basins, the forks, and the fire pans. All its utensils he made of bronze. And he made a grate of bronze network for the altar under its rim midway from the bottom. He cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles, and he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. He made the laver of bronze and its base of bronze from the bronze mirrors of the serving women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then he made the court on the south side. The hangings of the court were of fine woven linen 100 cubits long. There were 20 pillars for them with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the north side of the hangings were 100 cubits long with 20 pillars and their 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. And on the west side there were hangings of 50 cubits with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. For the east side of the hangings were 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate were 15 cubits long with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And the same for the other side of the court gate. On this side and that were hangings of 15 cubits that were 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. With their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. All the hangings of the court all around were of fine woven linen. The sockets of the pillars were bronze, the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver, and the overlay of their capitals was silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. The screen for the gate of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and of fine woven linen. The length was 20 cubits, and the height along its width was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hangings of the court. And there were 4 pillars with their 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their capitals and their bands was silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court all around were bronze. This is the inventory of the tabernacle of the testimony, which was counted according to the commandment of Moses for the service of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur of the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord had commanded Moses, and with him and with him was Aholiab, the son of Ahishamaach of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, a weaver of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine linen. All the gold that was used in all the work of the holy place, that is, the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver from those who were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Becca for each man, that is, half a shekel according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone included in the numbering from 20 years old and above, for 603,550 men. And from the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the bases of the veil, 100 sockets from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each socket. Then from 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made bands for them. The offering of bronze was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels, and with it he made the sockets for the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the bronze altar, the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the altar, the sockets for the court all around, the bases for the court gate, all the pegs for the tabernacle, and all the pegs for the court all around. All right, we're on chapter 39, guys. All right. Let's try to sail through these last 2 chapters. Of the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, they made garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread in a fine woven linen, and they beat the gold into thin sheets and cut it into threads to work it in with the blue, purple, and scarlet thread and the fine linen into artistic designs. They made shoulder straps for it to couple it together. It was coupled together at its 2 edges, and the intricately woven band of his ephod that was on it was of the same workmanship, woven of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen as the Lord had commanded Moses. And they set onyx stones enclosed in settings of gold. They were engraved as signets are engraved with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulders of the ephod as a memorial stone for the sons of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he made the breastplate artistically woven like the workmanship of an ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. They made the breastplate square by doubling it. A span was its length, and a span its width then when doubled. And they set it in 4 rows of stones. A row with a sardius, a topaz, and an emerald was the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. The fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in settings of gold in their mountings. There were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel, according to their names, engraved like a signet, each one with its own name according to the 12 tribes. And they made chains for the breastplate at the ends, like braided cords of pure gold. They also made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. The 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they fastened in the 2 settings and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in the front. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate on the edge of it, which was on the inward side of the ephod. They made 2 other gold rings and put them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod toward its front, right at the seam above the intricately woven band of the ephod. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so that it would be above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate would not come loose from the ephod, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue, and there was an opening in the middle of the robe, like the opening in a coat of mail, with a woven binding all around the opening, so that it would not tear. They made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet in a fine woven linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe, all around between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe to minister in, as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made tunics artistically woven of fine linen for Aaron and his sons, a turban of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woven linen, and a sash of fine woven linen with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, made by a weaver, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold, and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And they tied it to a blue cord to fasten it above on the turban, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Thus all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting was finished, and the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishings, its clasps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, the covering of ram skins dyed red, and the covering of badger skins, and the veil of the covering, the ark of the testimony with its poles and the mercy seat, the table, all its utensils, and the showbread, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps, the lamps set in order, all its utensils, and the oil for light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, the screen for the tabernacle door, the bronze altar, its grate of bronze, its poles and all its utensils, the laver with its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars and its sockets, the screen for the court gate, its cords and its pegs, all the utensils for the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting. And the garments of ministry to minister in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, his sons as garments to minister as priests, according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did all the work. Then Moses looked over all the work, and indeed they had done it as the Lord had commanded, just so they had done it, and Moses blessed them. All right, they did exactly what God had asked them to do. Hallelujah. So now we are on to Exodus chapter 40. All right. Looks like I've got a little piece of hair or something. All right, we're good. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put it in the ark of the testimony, and partition off the ark with the veil. You shall bring in the table and arrange the things that are to be set in order on it. And you shall bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. You shall also set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put up the screen for the door of the tabernacle. Excuse me. Then you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and you shall set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. And you shall set up the court all around, and hang up the screen at the court gate. And you shall take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it, and you shall hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. You shall anoint the altar of the burnt offering and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy, and you shall anoint the laver and its base, and consecrate it. Then you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of tabernacle of meeting, and wash them with water. You shall put the holy garments on Aaron, and anoint him and consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And you shall bring his sons and clothe them with tunics. You shall anoint them as you anointed their father, that they may minister to me as priests. For their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout the generations. Thus Moses did according to all that the Lord had commanded him, so he did. And it came to pass in the first month, on the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. So Moses raised up the tabernacle, fastened its sockets, set up its boards, put it in bars, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He took the testimony and put it into the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil of the covering, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the table in the tabernacle of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he put the lampstand in the tabernacle of meeting across from the table on the south side of the tabernacle. And he lit the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the gold altar in the tabernacle of meeting in front of the veil, and he burned sweet incense on it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle. And he put the altar of burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the grain offering, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water there for washing. And Moses, Aaron, and his sons would wash their hands and their feet with water from it, whenever they went into the tabernacle of meeting, and when they came near the altar, they washed, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he raised up the court all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the screen of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tabernacle of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of meeting, because the cloud rested above it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, the children of Israel would go onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was above the tabernacle by day, and fire was over it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys. Guys, we did it. We finished Exodus. Now, I am going to preface that when we go to Leviticus, it's going to talk about the children of Levi, from the house of Levi, and it's going to really get into detail about what the all of the laws that the children of Levi had to perform as they were the priests, because God specifically says that the children of Levi are going to be the priests. He gives them that basically that command. And so when we get into Leviticus, which is going to be our next book, it is going to be a little bit more detailed as to what the children of Levi experience as being part of the I would say the priesthood. So there you have it. We finished it. I am so happy that you were here on this journey with us as we went through Exodus. What were some things that you took from Exodus? What are some things that we can take into practical application? What are some things that you think could have been done differently? And what are some things that you can really see like that are still prevalent today? One of the things for me is that even in my Christian faith, and as I am strong, there might be seasons where I'm very strong in my faith, and there's seasons where I'm not as strong in my faith, and that is because I'm not in the Word and I'm not having real conversations with God. But I can definitely see that when hard times come, there's a lot of blaming that takes place. I also can see too that sometimes if we don't like situations or are upset with situations, sometimes we can replace God with something else to make us feel good in the moment, or maybe in that circumstance, in that time of our life. And so that to me is something that I have to recognize with myself, is there are times, and there was a season in my life that I just actually came out of, where I wasn't going to church, I wasn't reading my Bible, I was putting other things in the place of God instead of going to God and getting discernment from Him. And so I can see that in my own life. I can see that in what the children of Israel went through, and I can see that even with the children of Israel, right? Like, we still all do the things that the children of Israel did way, 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 way back in Exodus. So again, I think a lot of it does stem from the fall, absolutely. But instead of just taking ownership, it's like we want to deflect. We want to blame somebody else. We want to put that blame on someone else. And it's nope, not our fault, not our problem. But again, these are just some of my thoughts when it comes to some of these passages that we read. It definitely makes you kind of have to take a step back and look at your own life and realize that, you know what? God is the only answer, period. So, again, I'm very, very happy to have you here. If you're here on Twitch, I would love to hear from you. If you're also on YouTube, I would love to hear from you too. But that does conclude Exodus, and I hope that all of you have a wonderful evening.